Hello, guys. Thank you guys for joining me on another episode of Self Reflection Podcast. I am happy that you guys are here. Also, I'm very excited to be having this conversation because it's going to be a little bit different from what we are used to. It's going to be somewhat of a Q&A, of me asking questions back and forward here. You guys also might get to know a little bit about me on this podcast episode. So get excited because it should be fun. In this moment, I want to remind you before we get into this conversation, if you have yet to create time for self reflection this week, please go ahead and prioritize yourself, right? It is important that create those little tiny moments to be with yourself, right? Sometimes you got to be a little bit selfish when it comes down to you, right? Because sometimes we just give, right? And sometimes it is okay for you to practice self reflection and be okay with being, right? Being okay with, not trying to give other people and prioritizing you, right, in this moment. So if you haven't done self-reflection this week or today, I want to encourage you to go ahead and do so for yourself. So we're going to get into our conversation for today. So let's go.
We're going to start with, what does it take to believe in yourself?
What does it take to believe in yourself? This is one of my favorite right here because I often ask myself this question all the time because being on this podcast journey is something that I have to continue to believe in myself, right? Because there's moments when, I would think, am I doing enough? Am I not doing the right thing, right? And because of that moment, I have come to a space where I would do too much, right? Instead of like just doing what is already working and keep going. So that's something that I've been learning. When it comes down to believing in myself, I would say that the first thing is being able to just trust my intuition. And one of the ways that I get to listen to my intuition is practice self reflection. When you're able to hear your intuition, you're not living of the world, right? Because when we live from the worldly perspective, it gets confusing because you want this, you want this, you want that. But when you're able to listen to your intuition, that is God literally speaking to you. So that's one of the ways that I have learned to be able to trust myself is or believe in myself is by listening to my intuition and letting that higher force to guide me, especially on this journey that I'm on. Because sometimes, there's a lot of things out there that like mainstream media topics that I would love to talk about, but I just feel like it doesn't have any substance, right? It doesn't bring any great value to, if you're someone that is looking to touch the heart, right? It doesn't bring value to that. So, sometimes I just have to trust myself and know that I'm doing the right thing. And the more that I trust myself, the more that I do the things that align with me, align with my purpose, align with my value, it broadens the belief that I have for myself, you know. And then another thing that I believe in myself is I pipe myself up. I always hype myself up all the time. Like, one of the things that I do is I look in the mirror. I do affirmations in the mirror all the time. I'll talk to myself like, hey, Lira, you're doing great. You're doing amazing, right? Keep going. And like, Lira, I know you mess up on that part, but it's okay. What lesson did you have to learn in that part that you mess up to keep going? One of the things that I don't do is I do not speak negatively to myself. Like, I refuse to talk down to myself. What if it's me, like, just jokingly? I try not to do it at all as much as possible. And, that has allowed me to believe in myself a lot because just seeing that I can have that much confidence in myself just keeps me motivated and keeps me going. Right. So I guess motivating myself is something that allows me to believe in myself. So yeah.
You have the big goal of self-reflection podcast. What are some of the small goals that continues to push the wheel?
I like that. Some of the small goals that continue to let me go on this journey is by me meditating. I meditate at least 2 to 3 times every single day. One in the morning for sure and one in the evening, right? So when I'm able to meditate, it allows me to see where I am in the podcast journey. And that has been one of the biggest like push when it comes down to my podcasting. Another small goal that I think I set for myself is I wanted to drop at least like 3 episodes every week or so, right? And now I'm doing that every now and then, depending on how much time I have for myself. So just creating little goals like that for myself has been good. Another small goal that I had set for myself is being able to be in a studio. I feel like, coming in the studio, recording in the studio was a goal that I set for myself last year in the way beginning, right? And then towards the end of the year, I started coming into the studio. It didn't happen every single day, right? I maybe came once and then it's been a whole month, I had to save up for that and then come back again, right? That was another goal that I set for myself. So, just another small goal. Um, Also having a team, that was another, I think that's a big goal, but it was a small goal in the podcast journey, right? I wanted to be able to have people that would help me with editing, the audios, the videos, right? So that's something that I had to invest in. And I also was able to accomplish that, by just setting that goal because recording is cool. I love it, but editing, I'm not great at. So, yeah, and I think I have one of the best team. I tell them this all the time. I have one of the best teams on my side. I might make some quick decisions here and there, but I feel like they still stand behind me or by me, actually, not just behind me, by my side. And they literally keep me grounded. I think one of the decisions that I had made just lately, right, kind of changed my perspective on how I actually view the team now, because I heard this the other day actually. They say you don't build a business for the, customers, right? The way you get to build a business is not by getting customers. The way you build a business is by having a great team. And I heard that the other day, and it reminded me of the team that I feel like we're building here on Self Reflection Podcast, because they keep me grounded. Like, and I'm so grateful for them, and that was a goal that I set for myself. And I'm blessed that I was able to find people that see my vision, understand my vision, and kind of want the same for me as well. Wow, I just rambled, huh? But I love you guys so much. You guys mean so much to me. You do not understand. Also, I tell them I talk to them more than I talk to my family. But yeah.
What was that first episode of Self Reflection Podcast like? Like trying to get it started. What was that like?
Let me see. The first episode. So, how I started Self Reflection Podcast, I've always wanted to do something with like podcasting or media or something like that. But the how I started it was me listening to my own audio journals, went from me trying to motivate myself from being depressed and sad and all of that, right? Um, but the first recording was outside of my house by the water. I was just sitting there and I was like, I'm going to do podcasting, And boom, I just turned on what's it called? Let me see. What's it called? If anyone's trying to do, it's called voice recording on your Apple phone, right? I think that's what it's called. And I just turned it on and I started talking. And what do I don't even remember what I talked about, but I was just talking and you can hear the plane, the kids were playing in the background. Like it was fun, but I remember just recording and feeling really good about it. And I remember like, I didn't really want to tell a lot of people when I started Self Reflection Podcast because that's how, not ashamed, but that's how insecure I was about, just doing this, right? Hey, I'm putting myself out there into the world, as an African woman, right? This is not really a typical thing coming from an African family, so it was a bit different. But, I still did it because it was something that was in my heart that I wanted to do. But yeah, I guess to answer your question, I don't know. It just came out. I don't know if I planned it. I had no lesson plan, but yeah, I just did it.
Who was your first guest on Self Reflection?
You trying to get me in trouble? Um, who's my? I I'm not sure, but I think it was my nephew's mother, Deidre. Shout out to you, Deidre, if you're watching and listening. But I think so. Yeah.
Because you're very natural with guests on the
Oh,
podcast.
thank
And
you.
so, how, like, basically, where did that type of training or that mentality came from?
Before I answer your question, Oprah Winfrey, if you're listening to this, we need you on the show. Anyways, but yes, where did that mentality come from? Training. I think I've always been like this very like outspoken person somewhat. I'm shy, but at the same time, I'm very outspoken. The mentality, I would just say maybe playing sports might have also helped with me being the way that I am because in sports, you got to put yourself out there. You know, there's a go, go, go mentality. Um, what else? Yeah, I don't know. I guess I like people. I guess I could say so. I like people. I like talking to people. I like listening to people, even though I talk a lot. But one of my favorite things to do is listen because like when you listen to people like there's a beauty in that, you know, like you get to hear someone tell you the story. And I also, I guess, working with old people allow me to love listening to people as well because they have so many stories to tell. So yeah, I don't know. I just, and also I don't have any fear, I guess you could say that. I might have, you know, concern here and there, but I don't have fear. I don't fear nothing because like to me at the end of the day we're all gonna die. That's the one thing that I'm sure about, you know? So it's like, what am I gonna be afraid? Who am I gonna be afraid? And when you think about it, we're all humans. You know, like on a real shit, like we're just humans, every single one of us. Whether if you are Donald Trump, Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, girl, hello. You know, we are just humans. That's a beautiful thing. And I feel like a lot of people are so like they live in their head too much. I know a lot of people live in their head, and I get it. It takes a long time for people to get to, I guess, like this free space that I'm in, but it's possible and it's doable, you know. And I think the less we live in our head and we live in our heart, it becomes easier. I guess if that's a way to say that.
Have you ever thought about taking self reflection to like conventions or like a panel? And if
Mm,
so, which ones? It's like a dream panel.
wow. Actually, I've never thought about that. That is a good idea. So, guys, if you're out there watching, please go ahead and push this video out there. Let them know. But I honestly, I have thought about giving talks, which is something that I'm looking into doing. So if you're, you know, looking for a speaker, please go ahead and reach out to me. My goal is to be able to tackle the young generation. That's who I'm going for. I think that, you know, if we can interject with what is going on in society for the young generation, then we can have men and women in society that you know themselves, love themselves, right? Because I think in today's society a lot of people don't love themselves and don't know who they are or don't know what they want in life because they never spend that time with themselves, you know. And my goal is to be able to get to that young generation and say, hey, listen to yourself. You have everything that you need in this world. You don't lack anything. You know what I'm saying? Seriously, you don't. And if you can just believe in yourself, right? Just a small belief. It doesn't have to be big. If you can just believe in yourself just a tiny bit, man, there's endless possibilities out there for you because you were born with everything. There's nothing you're missing, you know, like, and I feel like so many people are so afraid of that. But yeah, I want to do talks. I want to, you know, do a host millions of people someday. I don't know if that's possible, but thousands of people in a studio one day. You know, I think that's a vision of mine that I have, where I'm giving talks to a bunch of people about self reflection, and you know, it's the most uplifting thing that anyone could do for themselves because I don't look at self reflection as just something that like you need to do. I look at self reflection as a form of caring for yourself, as a way of loving yourself, right? Because, like, when you're doing self reflection, it is you paying attention to yourself. And who best to pay attention to you other than you, you know? You know.
How do you tune out the noise when you set out on your journey?
How do I tune out the noise?
When you
I
set for your journey,
My journey on my podcast journey or what journey? Any journey?
any journey.
Self-reflection. I practice that a good handful. But how do I tune out the noise? To be honest, I know we don't know shit. Nobody knows anything. Even me that I'm talking and rambling over here, I don't know anything, right? But at the same time, I know that I know everything because we are one consciousness, right? Um, any information I want in this world, I can get it. I know that, right? Uh, any help that I want, right? I know I can get it. I just have to ask. I just have to find the right people, of course, right? I have to build the right connection, but I know that is available to me. So I guess like I don't think there's noise. I think because I kind of live in the moment. Like if I'm doing one thing, that's all I do. I remember one time, one of my girlfriends, like just my friend, I know people get this confused all the time, but I like to say it this way. But one of my girlfriends, right? We were doing something and I was like so into it and I was like digging for it. And she's like, Lyra, you're so like into but I feel like that is how I live. I just live for the now because I don't know what tomorrow brings, right? I don't know what two days from now will bring. I don't know what, a week from now will bring. So to me it's like now is all that matters. And the noise is the noise. Like if you're saying something, if you say hello to me, you say hello to me. And I guess like I don't take anything personal either. I learned this from my teacher, I guess my spiritual teacher, Dr. Wayne Dyer. I'll talk about him for as long as I live because he helped me heal. There's this quote that he says, be open to all and attach yourself to nothing. And I have lived by that quote ever since I listened to it, ever since I got that quote. And honestly, I guess that's how I tune out the noise because I'm literally open to everything, but I don't take nothing personal. What if you hurt me today? I'm not saying the pain doesn't exist. It exists, but I know that you don't know any better. That's why you hurt me, right? If I hurt you, I know I didn't know any better. That's why I said or I did what I did, and I forgive myself and I move on. In that moment, that's what it was. But I can't live the next 2 days, 3 days pondering about something that happened already. You know, I guess that's how the noise disappear. And I know that people are always going to have an opinion, right? And that's what it is. Like it's just their opinion. It's not my reality. Yeah, kind of thing.
Who would be like your top five like people you would want to interview?
You know what? You're gonna put me in trouble. I want to talk to Barack Obama. Seriously, I like that's one person that if I were to like had in any opportunity to, I want to talk to him, and I want to talk to him what happened to Muhammad Gaddafi.
Yeah.
That's one person I would want to talk to. Um, Oprah. I would love to talk to Oprah. I would like to know, what made her live the life that she lived. How did she get there? Why did she think the way she thinks? Right? Why did she, you know, live the life that she lived? I would love to interview her. I think her mindset, right? I think if that mindset can be translated into the young girls right now, it might help a lot of young girls because, she didn't come from a lot, but she made it to something for herself, right? I'm not saying she's perfect. I don't know her life, but I would love to just pick her brain on like what was her process in this whole journey because it's inspiring, even if you don't like her. I don't know her, so I can't make a judgment on her, but just to like see the journey, it's inspiring. My dad. I would love to interview my dad, uh, just because I love my dad, by the way. But he's one of my biggest inspiration in this entire world. He's one of the most chillest people in the entire world. Calm, always have something very wise to say. Yeah, he'll definitely be someone I want to interview, and I also think that he had a fantastic or amazing journey as a young man. Yeah, I would love to interview Dr. Wayne Dyer, even though he's of late. Just because he inspired me so much. Um, yeah, somebody that I would love to interview. And one more. I'd love to interview myself. Is that a weird thing to say? Um, I would love to interview myself. Why am I the way I am? Even though I somewhat have an idea, but just to sit down and be able to interview myself would be interesting. Cause yeah.
That'd definitely be interesting.
Francis Ngannou from Cameroon. I'd like to interview him. His journey is also very inspiring as well. So, Francis, if you're listening, Self Reflection Podcast, we're in the Bay Area. I would love to interview you.
My last question is, where do you see self-reflection going in the near future?
I do know what self reflection is here for, right? It's here to uplift people, to motivate people, to inspire people. It's here to tell amazing stories. In the near future, I see self reflection podcasts being self reflection podcasts and not changing much when it comes down to our core values, our principles, the ethics that we have on self reflection podcasts. I do see it having a household name, being its own brand, that it's recognizable, not only in the United States but all over the world. Um, I see self reflection podcasts changing many people's life. Not because we have something special here, but because people see themselves in self reflection podcasts. I see self reflection podcasts going back into the community in the United States, especially in the East Bay area, inspiring the young youths in there, motivating those young youths, and teaching them more about their mental health and how to care for themselves the proper way. Lastly, I see self reflection podcasts going back to Africa as well, going into the communities and teaching young girls and women what it's like to love themselves and take care of themselves. Just a quick story. When I went to Cameroon January 1 year ago, um, you know, I was having conversations with the young ladies there, and I was putting on deodorant, and they asked me what was that. And some of them knew what deodorant, and some of them didn't know what deodorant was. And when I asked them, like, so what do you use, right? They say nothing. Oh, and some of them told me you have to go to an American store to buy deodorant. And that was something that kind of bothered me, right? Because it was like basic hygiene, basic things that you need for yourself. You have to go to an American store to get it, right? Things like tampon, um, lotion to wash, put on your body. You have to have the type of lotion that you will use, right? You have to go to an American store to get a good type of lotion, so I'm hoping that, and I'm praying that self reflection podcasts become a pillar to young women to be able to care for themselves, but also find healthy ways to be able to grow those things from home or make those things for themselves so that they don't have to go to an American store to get a deodorant, right? So, yeah. And I also see self reflection podcasts pushing out a lot of positive message out there, uplifting message. Um, yeah, changing the world one person at a time. I guess that's how you would say it. Um, it's a blessing to be able to deal with this. So yeah, thank you guys so much again for joining me on Self Reflection Podcast. I hope that you guys enjoyed this Q&A session. It was something that we were in the studio, and I decided that's what we're going to talk about today. And everything that we said in this conversation was organic. It just happened naturally. Nothing was planned here. And I hope that you guys see the vision for Self Reflection Podcast and see that Self-reflection podcast is not just here to be another podcast or to be another social media platform, right? Self-reflection podcast is here because we want to be able to go back into the community and give back to the community as much as possible. But we can only do that if you guys subscribe to Self Reflection Podcast, if you guys listen to Self Reflection Podcast, and you donate to Self Reflection Podcast, however you choose to do that, right? Whatever it's financially, or liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing, right? Those things goes a long way. I know a lot of people don't care about those minor things, but on Self Reflection Podcast on here, we greatly appreciate those things because to me, those are things that allow the podcast to grow into what we're trying to see it grow into. And I hope that everyone that is listening to Self Reflection Podcast, I hope that you feel as if you are a part of this journey as well, right? So if you do have any questions, you do have any comments, you have any topics that you would like for us to cover here on Self Reflection Podcast, please go ahead and send it to us. You can hit me up on Instagram, on TikTok, or you can go on our website to send your question. You can find me on social media at Lira, Lira underscore Ndifon. Thank you guys again so much for being here, for being part of this amazing journey that we are on. I am extremely blessed and grateful to be able to go on this podcast journey with you guys. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Thank you guys again for being part of this amazing community. I can't stop thanking you guys. Anyways, I hope you guys have an amazing day. Take care of yourself, love yourself, be kind, and be gentle with yourself. Until next time, you're listening to Self Reflection Podcast. And this is your girl, Lyra. Ta da!